appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So now, where are you calling me from today?
From Virginia, right outside of DC. Yes.
All righty. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to Jazzcast on Wjzz Cool TV. I am your host, Dawn, and I am so happy to have on with me tonight Terry Thompson. I don't want to be so formal and go Terrence.
Thank you. Thank
So
you.
we will go with Terry. So everybody, this goes to show you how the power of social media. Never met this gentleman, but we connected on social media, found out I was doing my show. Hey, I want to be on your show, and we are making it in today.
Yes, thank you very much, Don. I really appreciate it because you responded, and that means a lot.
Yes, absolutely. I'm sure you send stuff out and never get a response back.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so I've been kind of following on social media probably for the last week or so.
Mm-hmm.
And I see, the indie artist issue, kind of let's talk about, I guess, kind of how you kind of keep going in the music business, when you are constantly, being rejected.
Right.
What are some of the things that you do to kind of stay motivated and continue in the music business?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, for me, I took a hiatus from the music industry for maybe about, I don't know, maybe 10 years. I stepped away from it, went back to grad school, finished up grad school, went into corporate America. And I've been, doing that for, the past, 15 years, 20 years. So for me, music is, it's more of an outlet for me. It's not anything that I look to particularly, sustain my livelihood, or my family. It's just something that I love to do. But with that being said, you have to stay optimistic. And I approach, music from a business perspective, I mean, that's just what it is to me. There's the creative side of it, but then there's also the business of trying to push it and promote it and market the music.
Okay. And kind of, that was going to be kind of my next question. I run into a lot of, who perform constantly and day in and day out, but the business side of music, they know absolutely nothing about. When it comes to contracts, fee negotiation, booking, venues and things, kind of, I guess, talk about, your experience, kind of on the business side of music and some of the advice you would give to some up and coming musicians, artists.
Yeah, man, you're putting it out there, and I mean, you're coming like with both barrels blazing. So,
I mean, that's really the booking agent and the manager side of my life. Because I am involved in 2 unions.
Okay.
Yep. So 2 unions: Detroit Federation of Musicians and the American Federation of Musicians. So, I've had so many artists, reach out to me seeking help, because they've been, taken advantage of by promoters, have people say they're booking agents. So when I'm talking to them, of course, they're very skeptical, which I don't blame them.
Right.
I let them know I'm in the union. So if I get blacklisted, it's a newsletter that goes out and my name and my company's name is out there, and I'm not going to let that happen.
Right.
So kind of from your side, what have you seen? And what recommend to some up and coming musicians?
Even from a new artist, up and coming artist to even veteran artists. Know your business. At the end of the day, this is a business, and I think too often musicians and artists, we are swayed by the fact that we're getting that chance to to, perform or, get that opportunity. But, you have to understand that this is a business. And at the end of the day, it's about the bottom line. It's like any other business vertical that exists. If you're profitable, you're gonna get that support, you're gonna get that the promotional push behind you and the marketing that you need. If you're not, then you won't get that look. But a lot of artists just don't understand the business aspect of it. They don't understand contracts. They don't want to read contracts and look at contracts. And for me, I dig into contracts, and that's a part of my life. It's been a part of my life for a very, very long time. I love discussing contracts, and because I know the legal aspect of it, it helped me years ago when I had a situation with a very large record, actually a record that was on the biggest artist of all time, because I understood, my legal, my legal course of action. Let me just say that.
Okay. And I'm looking, I had a chance to review bio, and I couldn't even get past, I guess, the first paragraph. And when I read that, I'm like, no, I didn't just see that. I'm like,
yeah,
nope.
Yeah, you did.
And
you did.
So this time I had to sit down and kind of stop thinking, because I love this particular song. And for those of you who don't know Terry's history, check his bio out. He was handpicked, according to the music, to Michael Jackson's Heaven Can Wait.
Absolutely.
I said that is like one of the favorite songs on that particular album. How did that happen?
That's a great story. And I've kind of always been very kind of discreet about that. But, now with things happening with me, and then with my partner, or one of the producers at the time, there's a gentleman by the name of Nate Smith, who was an incredible drummer, producer, musician. So Nate was, I don't necessarily want to say he was a part of our company, but Nate was a producer that was actually submitting tracks through my company. And I actually handpicked the song Heaven Can Wait. And it wasn't that track at the time. And here's the irony of it. A good friend of mine at the time by the name of Elliot Yamin actually had first dibs at that track, and he passed on it, for the most part. But we ended up landing the track on another artist. It wasn't Michael Jackson at the time. It was another artist who ran over budget. And subsequently it bounced over to Teddy Riley, who had happened to be working on the Michael Jackson project at that time. And Teddy, we have history, and we go back all the way back to his years with the group Guy.
Yes.
So apparently Michael heard it, and he loved the song. But, this is one thing I want to say. If you go on Spotify, if you go anywhere and you look at the credits on that record, there are a whole bunch of people who have that their names are on that record. And honestly, it should probably only be maybe three or four names tops. Yes. Nate Smith name should be first. My name should be probably maybe second or third, because I was the executive producer. I actually recorded the track and did all of that part of it. But Nate Smith did the entire track. And there was another guy by the name of, I think, Teron Bill, and him and his writing partner, they wrote the song, and their background vocals are still on the track. You could still hear their vocals on the track. So there was a laundry list of people that had their names on that song that they didn't contribute from a creative perspective to the song at all,
So kind of with that being said, artist yourself, how do you, I guess, get over something like that? But how do you not let something like that, piss you off, kind of, and you're not maybe listed in the top 3 or 5, of a project like that?
Well, it would have been extremely disheartening and disappointing to me had I not received my royalties. I get my credit for it. Yeah, to to my point, I don't get the credit that I think I should have, and that's okay. But I do receive the royalties for it, and I'm attached to the biggest artist that ever lived of all time. Now,
Yes.
you know, you can look at it, and it's just an amazing thing to see that, because I never imagined that would happen, you know, and unfortunately, you know, the pressures of the industry and people wanting to make it will make other people make bad decisions. So, you know, as a result of that, you know, I had to take legal action in order to get, you know, my credit for it. And, you know, technically I am a platinum, you know, producer, you know, platinum selling producer, but, you know, it is what it is, you know. But for me as an artist, you know, I'm a producer first and foremost, producer, songwriter, you know, artist, musician. So I control it all now. And I learned a lot. You know, and I appreciate all of my time and exposure to Teddy Riley and other people that I was around. It taught me a lot. You know, I was a young guy learning a lot. And you know, when you're around people that you idolize and, you know, and you appreciate them, but you can match wits with them, that's a whole different thing, you know?
Oh God, you know what? I can only imagine. And you know, everybody that I have on my show, you know, they are a musician. They've been in industry for a long time. I'm not. You know, I'm just a huge fan and supporter of, you know, just a ton of artists. You know, especially, you know, of course, my Detroit artists.
Right.
You know, when I had a chance to, you know, kind of read your bio and everything, and I was on my way over here too, and I'm like, wait, I'm like, you forgot one other thing, model. You need to have that on your bio.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm truly humbled by that. You know.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, so when I was looking at your bio, self-taught musician.
Yeah.
You know, kind of, you know, what instrument or instruments did you teach yourself?
So it was keyboards to piano, you know, and it started out years ago. I you know, was a DJ, rap DJ, producer, hip hop, and I was doing a lot of sampling, you know, making a lot of tracks using samples, and you know, I just got to the point where I said, you know what, at some point I don't want to use samples in my music, and I just started to teach myself how to play chords. It started with bass lines and then chords, and you know, got to the next point for where I am, you know, and I started to build on that. But I will always dub myself as a producer, songwriter first, artist, and then musician. Now, for me and my project, I have like A1 musicians on my project, you know, like when you hear music or you hear a song that I produced, I mean, these are typically musicians that I've given, you know, the parts to, the chords and the progressions and the vamp or the bridge or whatever, and say, hey, this is what the song does. Now you interpret it and bring your, your perspective to it. So, but I'm a producer first, so that's why you'll always hear that continuity with what I do.
Yeah, and God, very, very humble gentleman you are. And let's kind of talk about some of your projects. The one song that kind of struck me was Her Strut. And
Yeah.
when I heard that, I'm like, And so then it kind of brought me to the movie. I'm gonna get sucker, you know, the music as you're walking.
Fly guy, yes.
I need that song. I need that baby on me.
Yes.
You know, so I guess kind of what have been some of your inspirations, you know, with some of your music?
You know, I would say that, you know, my music is basically everything that I love. You know, I mean, you know, I love so many different genres of music or styles of music that it's all in me. But what I can say is that when I'm creating, you know, I don't listen to anything because I don't want to, you know, say, oh, okay, Robert Glasper's doing this, or, you know, Quincy Jones did that. You know, I mean, I try to just, you know, I come into my space, my creative space, and I just let it happen. You know, I'm inspired by everything. You know, I mean, I would, you know, I hear somebody like Layla Hathaway and I just go, wow, like Will Downing or Donnie Hathaway. I mean, you know, Eric Roberson. I mean, it's just so many people, like anyone that's making, you know, music and you hear it, you can be inspired by it. At least I am. And, it could be something, from a hip hop artist to, classical, anything, Yeah.
And so kind of touching on that, Detroit is a huge.
Motor City. Yes.
Yeah, we got that.
Come on now.
We've produced, some of the greatest musicians and talent. And, and for me, said, I just, I love, primarily my first love is jazz.
Yeah.
Appreciating jazz probably in my late teens, early 20s. How do you, I guess, encourage maybe some of the younger people coming up, in the business, encourage them, discourage them, how do you handle that?
Here's the thing about to me, I think about jazz. And let me just say this also, Detroit probably had the greatest hip hop producer of all time, Jay Dilla, rest in peace, brother. But I just wanted to say that. But I mean, as it relates to like jazz, I mean, to me, like jazz musicians now, I'm not a jazz musician. I am a producer / musician. I mean, jazz musicians are some of the most, in my opinion, most intelligent musicians that there are. I mean, the way that they push the music and the way that they approach the music and the bar that they set is so high, for themselves. To me, a lot of times, I mean, they're playing for other jazz musicians. It's like, hey, we got to push it. To me, it's something that you have to love. I'm like you. I mean, it was something that I just fell in love with at an early age. I mean, I heard it and I was like, wow, this music is like, it's special, it's different. And when you can have an instrumental speak to you, that's a whole different level, and there are so many great, jazz musicians and pioneers that paved the way, that for us. But really it comes back to, there's so many things about that, because there's the business side of it. And of course, corporate, they only want to push what's selling. And unfortunately, sometimes we forget that, that's our music. We created that. And honestly, it's probably only a few of the only true things that America has created. But that jazz music that's our music, and we created it. And, we need to cherish that and relish it, for what it is, and try to, encourage kids to play an instrument. I have 3 sons. I have a daughter, and I have 3 sons. So my oldest son, God bless his heart, I love him. My oldest son, I introduced him to the guitar, I introduced him to the piano. He used to love coming in the studio, hanging out with the guys and seeing what was going on. But man, he didn't want to take his lessons. He didn't want to practice.
Yeah, so. That happens, unfortunately. Because I don't know about in Virginia, but I know here, kind of in the Detroit area, the school system, they've taken the arts out, and it's very, heartbreaking.
It is
to see, that from the educational level, that they've taken it out. And I mean, because I can remember, elementary through high school, there was always some element of music,
always,
that you had to take. And my hat is off to a lot of people who donate instruments, and their time, and their studio space, for the kids who want to hone their skills, in that business, because it can be a very lucrative business.
Absolutely.
If it's handled correctly.
And there's this study that says that there's a correlation between a lot of CEOs and executives and them actually playing an instrument. And to me, I could follow that logic, because it does seem like, you have to be wired and built a certain way to want to master an instrument. The time alone that it takes, to hone your craft and to study and to practice and just to keep going at it. It takes a lot of discipline. So, but this is the one thing I'll say is that for those that want it, they find it and they find a way to make it happen. And it's kind of like that whole thing with hoop dreams. I mean, you know, whatever someone's inspired to do, if they get that opportunity, I mean, they're going to chase it down. You know, I mean, that's the way I was. I mean, you know, my mom gave me great advice as a young person, you know, years ago. She told me, hey, I know you love the music business. I know you love everything about it. I have something to fall back on. And I made a conscious, you know, decision to say, hey, I'm going to have an education. I'm going to have a career. And this is the thing I'll say. If I never make another record a day in my life, I mean, I am good with my life. I love my life. I love being Terry Thompson, you know, and not Terry Thompson, the producer or anything like that.
Exactly.
You know,
that is so amazing. I love that. Everybody, you are watching Jazz Cats on Wjzz Cool TV. We are live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe. Thanks everybody for tuning in and watching Wjzz Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. And on Jazz Cats tonight, I have the amazing Terrence Thompson. Like I said earlier in the show, we're not being formal. It's not Terrence. You know, we're not being, you know, that formal. You know, if you missed kind of the top of the show, you know, we kind of talked about, got some of everything. This guy's got an amazing career and life and everything. So kind of let's talk about, you know, you said, you know, if you never made another record, life would be fantastic. You know, with everything kind of being shut down last year, you know, how did you survive, you know, the pandemic of 2020?
You know, unfortunately, you know, there were people that I'm close to that were impacted by it, you know, families and, you know, just, you know, we people that I know passed away, and it was, you know, very unfortunate. But, you know, for me creatively, I actually started my album, If I Only Had a Band. I actually started it during the pandemic, just before the pandemic really kicked in. So, you know, me and my guys, we were working, my team, we were working, putting my project together, which, you know, I think we probably completed like 20 plus songs and scrubbed it down to the final, you know, project that's out now. But I actually tried to use the pandemic to my advantage, you know, and since then I released my album, you know, the If I Only Had a Band project, and I've released several singles after that. And actually my goal is to release probably maybe another 10 to 15 songs before the year's up. So I dropped everything in 2021. I have an amazing, I was blessed and very fortunate that I heard artists that I was not aware of and that familiar with it, that existed. One is actually tuning in tonight, my sister Anita Bissong, who is an amazing vocalist, flutist. I mean, just amazing. I mean, so I had the opportunity to collaborate with her on a song, as well as Carmen Bruner, and as well as another young lady by the name of Ty Silver. I have a couple of more collaborations that I'm actually wrapping up now, and then I have some other songs that I'll be releasing from my songs that I'll be releasing as well before the end of the year. So,
ooh, wonderful.
Very busy, you know.
Oh, that is so awesome. And you know, kind of looking at I was checking Spotify. I'm like, I'm never gonna sleep. You know, listen to this music. And one thing that kind of stood out was the artwork.
Thank you.
You know, I love things that are so different, and you know, that kind of caught my eye. I'm like, So now, are you an artist? You commission someone to do this for you?
You know what? I'm gonna say by far, this is like the dopest interview I've had so far, because you're asking questions that, you know, like that I would ask, you know. So, but no disrespect to any other interviews. Let me just say that I appreciate them, but this is a dope interview for me.
Love it.
Yes. Yeah. So let me say this. So the artwork, it actually it's a good friend of mine. His name is Eric Collins. He's an amazing artist. He's actually done so many different things for me. I mean, you know, back when I had my production company, he did our logo. He's done numerous things for me. So basically, I just, you know, say, hey, Eric, this is what I see, or this is what I think, and here's an idea. And he'll just take it and he'll do his thing and he'll send it back. And you know, for everything he's done, he's never done anything that I've said, no, that's not it. You know, I mean, it's always been like either spot on or just, you know, add this or add that, and is perfect. But, you know, when you look at all of the records that I release, they have the same kind of the same cover, but just the image of the artwork is different. And really what that is that's just my signature that, you know, I'm trying to brand it so you'll know, okay, this is obviously something that he's doing. But also, you know, I have these amazing, you know, musicians that if you don't mind, I would like to, like, you know, just say their names while I'm on right now.
By all means, go right ahead.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So first and foremost is my guy, you know, Michael Hudson, who plays keys, electric piano, you know, piano on most of my tracks. I mean, there's only a few tracks that I can't even think any tracks he's not playing keys on at all, but he's playing on all the tracks. An amazing young talent, Mr. Michael Hudson. Next is Jean Kaz, who's an amazing horn player, you know, flugelhorn, trumpet. I mean, just this guy, he takes the song and takes it to another level. I have my other dope brother, Bobby Ramon, who actually plays bass, upright bass, electric bass, an amazing guy. I have Anthony Silva, who is a special, plays the guitar, electric guitar, very special. He's contributed on the back end. As a matter of fact, a song that we just recently done with Carmen Bruner was basically wrote out on the guitar by Anthony Bruner, and then we just built it out from there. On drums, I have Marcus Parker on a couple of tracks, and to the latest two guys to actually join the team. One is my man, you know, Thaddeus Cradle. You know, this guy, he plays trombone. Super good brother, you know, always ready to hit the studio and work. He's on her strut. And then there's my man Curtis McCain, who was a percussionist. Curtis is just, you know, just an amazing guy. He does his thing. Vocalist wise, I've used you know, female. I've used a Carol O'Brien, who's also an actress. She has a lot of different movies and voiceover work and a lot of stuff. And of course, there's Ty Silva, Anita Basong, Carmen Bruner. And I just wanted to shout them out because, you know, they actually make my music. You know, my job, I'll say this, on the front end, my job is the easiest. You know, like on the front end, when I write the music, it's the easiest, right? Then they do their thing. Now on the back end, my job is the ugliest because I'm left with the editing, the mixing, and all of that stuff. But it's a joy and it's a pleasure to have, you know, so many perfectionists and creative people supporting me. So I mean, you know, it wouldn't be Terrence Thompson or Mr. Terrence Thompson without, you know, those people that I just named. And of course, you know, first and foremost, you know, my wife, who is a huge supporter. I mean, like, you know, she lets me run through the money to do what I need to do, and I appreciate that.
Thank you to your wife for
yes,
that.
Yes.
So you have a new fan here.
Thank you.
Android, and trust and believe I will be pushing, you know, your projects and everything.
I appreciate it.
And you're very welcome. Now, so you just kind of ran down the list of, you know, the musicians, vocalists that you work with. How do you kind of work with these people? Where do you find them? Do they find you? Do you find them? Oh
man, so that's the thing. Same way I found you. Listen, look, this is the one thing I've learned. You know, there's a scripture, you know, a closed mouth will not be fed. So, you know, I am super, I wouldn't say aggressive, but I mean, you know, I've been rejected so many times. Like, you know, I mean, a no is no. It doesn't mean anything to me, you know, but so I was listening to the radio one day. I was listening to the radio, and this guy played, you know, Fragile, which is a Sting song that Carmen Bruner she covered. I heard her voice. I was like, wow. Reached out to Carmen, said, I want to write a song for you. That's how we became, you know, had our relationship. You know, I heard Anita Basong the exact same way, you know, reached out, let's collaborate. There was, you know, she was actually about to do double duty and play the flute on the song and sing on it. But yeah, she's bad. So But the timing of it, you know, I'm a little, you know, she had things that she was working on, and I wanted to get the song done. So we that was a happy medium, happy compromise that we made. But you know, as far as the musicians that I use now, I you know, and please forgive me because there's one brother that I did not mention, and he's actually responsible for all of the musicians that I you know, have used and that I work with. And that's a brother by the name of Fritz Raymond, who's actually Bobby Raymond's brother. He plays the acoustic guitar, and he's actually playing the acoustic guitar on a couple of the songs on my project. But basically, Fritz came over and we talked, and I told him what I was trying to do. And he said, hey, you know, I'm going to introduce you to some people. I got you. I like what you're doing. And, you know, I'm like, okay, this guy, let me see. And he said these guys were A1. I mean, I was blown away. So Michael came through. We're in the studio. We're working, I think, on like the maybe first or second track. I mean, we're working on this track, and then Michael phone goes off, and he's like, hey, who's this? And it's this guy saying, yeah, I heard you guys are working on a project. Can I get on it? What's going on? And it turns out to be Wjzz Cool. And let me just say, you know, I mean, so Wjzz Cool actually he normally tours with Michael Bublé. I mean, he's a phenomenal, yeah. He's that guy, you know, he's that, yeah. So and so he called, and so Mike was like, hey man, I think this person wanted to talk to you. So I talked to Wjzz Cool, and he's like, you know, we talked real quick. I'm like, hey, I love, you know, let's see what we can do. Sent in the tracks. He responded, you know, and then we started working. Now, here's the interesting part about it. I've never met Wjzz Cool or Bobby face to face. Everyone else, they normally come to my studio and we record. But Wjzz Cool and Bobby Raymond, they actually normally send their tracks to me remotely, and I fly it in.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, and that aspect of the music business has always been fascinating. And, you know, when I tell people all the time, you know, the artists, I'm thinking you guys go to the studio one day, you know, record like 6 or 7 tracks, ship those off to get the CDs made.
No, I don't work like that though. No. No. I wish it did though. I wish it did, Don. Yes, Lord.
I was totally wrong, you know, about that whole concept, you know, until I had the pleasure of going into the studio a couple of times with a couple of the artists that I work with to see, you know, the entire process from beginning to end. Yeah. And it's a very labor intensive, you know, yes. And I guess, you know, kind of like I spoke earlier, how do you, I guess, kind of keep going, not get burned out, you know, by that process? I mean, I know it's, you know, the dollar signs are there, you know, and everything's, you know, so I guess what's the motivation to keep you going? Like, crap, I got to get this project done and get it out to the masses.
You know, I mean, for me, it's different. You know, I mean, this is the one thing I'll say. Like, I'm not doing music, you know, to be, you know, in a different place financially. Even if I wasn't, you know, if I wasn't putting music out, I would still be writing music. You know, it's just something that I love to do. So it's not about the actual music, or you know, I don't even see the dollar signs. I mean, to be honest, you know, it's you know, I can't equate it or say it's, you know, the equivalent of a woman, you know, bearing a child or being pregnant. But that's what it's like for me, you know, like when I have something in me creatively, I have to birth it. I have to get it out, you know. So, you know, like a few people said, hey, why are you putting out so much music? Like, you need to slow down. I'm like, no, tomorrow's not promised to me. And I don't care about all of that other stuff, you know, like I'm in a position to put the music out, to shoot the music videos, to do whatever I want to do. So I'm going to put it out and I'm going to do it. And if people like it and if it resonates with someone, I'm super humbled by that. But, you know, I have a great support system. You know, when I started my project, you know, I mean, my wife, she had this huge spread laid out for these guys. And I'm like, babe, like, I'm paying these guys. Like, you don't have to put food out like that. You know, like she had so much stuff out. I'm like, yo, how much money did you spend to do this? You know, but they loved it, and it just set the tone. Okay, we're all business, and even though this is a husband and wife team doing this, when they come, they get paid. I mean, it is business. People get taken care of. Not only that, I mean, and I'm not saying this, you know, to pump myself up or to say more about myself. But I just think it's just right. I mean, these guys they're contributing to this project creatively, so they get their publishing and they get their credit. And if you look at all the records that I put out, if you look at the cover, those guys' names are on the front of those records. You know what I mean? Like, you know, yeah, they get their credit. And I love the fact that, you know, I'm not jaded from what happened to me years ago. You know, like, I mean, no, you guys are putting in the work. You guys deserve it. I mean, if you had a chance to listen to my project, and for those that haven't, you know, the guys introduced themselves at the beginning of the CD. They say their names and they say where they're from and they say what instrument they're playing. And I just think that that's important, that people get their credit, because, you know, I don't want to take credit for anything that I'm not supposed to have credit for, you know?
Right. Well, bless you for that one, because I know there's so many, you know, artists out here that will suck the life out of credit and won't, you know, give the appropriate credit. And you know, I love like reading, you know, the CD cover. And, you know, and I did that, you know, back when I was growing up.
Right. The liner notes. That's right.
The liner notes and everything.
Yeah.
And that's how I find out a lot about, you know, some musicians, not even going to look at their bio.
Right.
I can remember as a little kid, like reading the Gen 5, you know, liner notes. Of course, I didn't know what they were back then. And, you know, like you said, you know, give the credit, you know, where, you know, credit is due. And, you know, trust and believe. I'm going to look up these musicians that you've mentioned, you know, and check out and, you know, and support, you know, their projects.
That's awesome.
You know, in terms of, you know, your new music, I mean, do you tour often, or, you know, how do we get to see you?
Yeah, so I haven't had the chance to tour yet. So years ago, I actually toured with someone else, but, you know, so my project or my plan was to put as much music out as possible to build, you know, my brand, and to build, you know, my audience, you know, because this is the thing I'll say, like for me, I don't want to go out on the road and do shows to build my name or to build my brand. I don't want to go and play in a venue that someone does not know of me or they have never heard of me. And I'm not saying I'm above that. I'm not. But, you know, what I am saying is that, you know, I'm not a full-time musician. You know, I mean, that's not my thing. I'm not doing it for that. And honestly, I wouldn't even have my face on my project or doing interviews if there was a mechanism for me to be able to say, hey, I like to produce music and I like to write songs. Can I pitch you a song? But I know that in order for me to get to that next level, I have to be the face of my music. You know, I have to show people, hey, I can write, I can produce, you know, any type of artist you send me, you know, maybe not hip hop at this point, but,
sure.
You know, but that's really what it is. But I'm trying to build up a big enough, I guess, demand. And, you know, I have people that I can do I think I can do a great tour, mini tour or concert with, you know, with Carmen, Anita, you know, and some other people, other dope artists that I know of, indie artists that we can collaborate. So I hope to be able to do something, you know, within the next couple of months. But I also have an aggressive production schedule that I mentioned, that I have Sophia Ripley that I'm working on her first single that we're doing together. And Chanita Frazier, someone that I'm working with also. She actually did the original cover to a song. And I have so many production, you know, things that I want to do. And then I'll say, okay, I have all this music out now. Now let me go out and perform it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, like I said, I'm going to do what I can to push what I've heard, you know, so far. Like I said, I'm claiming her strut. I'm claiming that one as my song.
That's yours. That's your song. Listen, I will do a remix for you on that one.
I am claiming that one. I mean, because it was the first maybe 30 seconds of it. I'm like, oh, I like that. You know, and I hear and I'm listening, you know, to music all the time. And some stuff is like, yeah, you know, I won't like download this one, you know, tonight. Right. But when I get back home tonight, no, everything is going into my library, and
I appreciate that.
Absolutely. And you know, just connecting with you on social media, reading your post, know, like I said earlier, you are a very humble gentleman, because I'm looking at a post that you posted yesterday. You know, today I quietly celebrated a milestone of 200 streams. I'm like, why is he being so quiet? You know, I mean, wave that flag in everything. You know, goal is 1,000,000. You know, we're gonna get you there.
I appreciate that. I mean, you know, this is a thing I've learned. I mean, you know, like this is, for me, it's a gift. You know, like my gift, it may not be Thad's gift or Jean Coz's gift or Michael Huss's gift, you know, but my gift is what it is. And to me, you know, I will say this, you know, like when I'm talking to my kids or someone, you know, can everyone sing? And they'll say, no, everyone can't sing, or at least they can't do it well, you know. And then that way, you know, it's a gift, and you didn't give yourself that gift. The fact that it's a gift means that someone gave it to you, you know, and you know, that's how I take it. You know, and at the end of the day, this is just music. I mean, we're creating music. Now, music is important. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, we're not, you know, finding the cure for cancer or anything like that. And that whole thing with the celebrity and all of that, that's nothing. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, I am just a person who loves to do music. Music it doesn't define my life. It doesn't define who I am. You know, I mean, I'm just, you know, I just want to live the best life that I can live, and be as good as I can to the people that I come in contact with. I know, you know, how life has a funny way of bringing you these different situations. You know, you could be up one day and down the other. So, no,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yes, everybody, you are watching Jazz Cats on Wjzz Cool TV. We are live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and other social media platforms. Like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for those who have tuned in. Kind of see numbers kind of bouncing all over the place, which is awesome. You know, and I have one with me from Virginia, Terry.
Is that right? I try to do the VA. I'm a cornball. I can't help it.
See, you did something. You know, so you guys missed it. You know, we kind of talked about some of everything with Terry, and you know, the music that he's putting out and that's already out. So please support this amazing gentleman here. And you know, for those naysayers who, you know, were saying to you, why are you putting out so much music? You know, my favorite artist of all times, Prince.
Yes.
You know, locked and hidden. You know, why do you they were maybe asking putting out so much music so frequently?
I mean, I guess it's probably a couple of different things, you know. I mean, one, I mean, to your point that you made earlier, Don, like, you know, you didn't know it was as labor intensive as it was to actually do a song, you know. Now, and it's one thing, and this is not to diminish or to say anything less than, but when people are doing tracks and they're sequencing the music and it's being all done in, you know, in a DAW or, you know, some type of program, that's one thing. But when you're talking about live instruments and pulling all of that stuff together and you know, recording it and mixing it, it's a different ball game altogether. But I think, you know, it's just the fact that people may be thinking, okay, well, I mean, where are you getting all this music from? I mean, how are you doing it? Because if you look at most artists, it takes a lot for them to put out songs consistently or to put out a project consistently. And when was the last time you saw an artist put out a 20 song album? You know, you don't even see that anymore. You know, it's like,
No.
you know,
maybe those 20 songs and maybe like 3, you know, that maybe the average person, you know, will gravitate towards.
yes.
You know, I'll listen to every song or maybe a 20 album, but if something doesn't like grab my attention, I'm like, no, let me just burn this CD. Let me just
Right.
5 and 17, you know, and that's it, you know. But I think a lot of artists are kind of in tune now with, you know, the fan base and possibly putting out, you know, maybe what we want to hear.
Yeah. And, you know, you just said something else that it's going to lead me down another path. I think a lot of artists, I'm going to say this, you know, the artists that are on top, the A tier top level artists, they know their audience, they know their fan base. I mean, it's obvious, you know what I mean? For us as indie artists, we need to learn and understand who our listeners and our supporters are. Like, and I think a lot of times indie artists, they're chasing down behind something that they will never ever be able to achieve. It's like it's business. It's just this basic business. You have to understand, your audience. You have to know your market, and you have to identify that market and get your music out in front of that market. If you're not doing that, I had a post recently. I was talking about that exact same thing, that people don't know who their audience is. It's about numbers and how the numbers, I see artists rushing back into the studio to try to record another album. You just dropped the album in 2020 and you didn't get the numbers that you wanted because you didn't promote it the right way. I mean, that whole thing of you putting out a record and the record just taking legs and growing a life of its own and climbing up the charts is not going to happen. You have to have the money behind it. You have to have the know-how. You have to have all of that goes into the business side of it. So I put it out because I have a strategy that, as a buddy of mine, we always talk about, hey, if I ever just get to the point, if I got 5,000 loyal listeners, I'm good. You know what I mean? Because so we do all these crazy scenarios, my man Eric. So that's how I look at it. I mean, I don't need a million. I mean, would I love to have 1 million people? Absolutely. But I don't need 1 million. I mean, it's relative to me because I'm an indie artist. If I'm selling, if I got to the place that Eric Roberson is, let me just say that dude is the king of being an independent artist. You know what I mean? Yeah. I would be so like, that dude is like, he's going diamond, based on his, being an indie artist. So, I mean, that's what I'm after. I understand what's realistic and what's achievable. So I try to set very achievable goals for myself and try to work that plan. And I have a lot of music out, and I will work I will work my projects, the next year or so. I'm going to promote the music and do everything that I can, and, just put my push behind it.
Mm-hmm. Now, locally in Virginia, do you guys get out to any of the different venues, or are you just pretty much, kind of in the studio?
I at this point, I am a studio. Just that's all I do. I mean, it's like if I could have an IV attached to my arm, my wife would just be bringing me down protein shakes, just dumping it in an IV, like, keep going, baby, keep going. So yes. So right now, and that's the thing for me that I think that's the balance, is the fact that, I prefer to write, create, and produce as opposed to gigging live. Now at some point I would love to perform live, but I know that once I step out of the studio, I'm going to lose that rhythm that I have right now, and right now, I mean, I just feel like I'm at my apex, and I want to maximize it, because at some point I know I'm going to hit a wall and it won't be flowing out of me like it is now. But, yesterday I started recording a new song, and I'm like, man, this would be dope for Will Down. And if I got to figure out how to get it to him, So, but that's how it works for me. Because, you can strike the balance if you're just that agile enough to do it. But I can't, I'm like, once I get focused on one thing, I have to like stay on it. And then as soon as it runs out, then I'll go out on the road and tour, to kind of go in a different direction.
Wonderful. Well, stay in the studio.
Thank you. I will.
Trust me, cracking out what I heard. Please in the studio.
Thank you, Don. I appreciate that. I really do.
Absolutely. Terry, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule to come in with me.
No, I appreciate it, my sister. I appreciate you responding, and you didn't forget about me. You hit me back and say, hey, I didn't forget about you.
No, never. I can never forget about you at all. No, because I will circle back and have you on, at a later date, and we'll of course talk more music, and hopefully I'll get a chance to play some of your music.
Yeah,
but I will be, trust me, I'm pushing you on my social media page and everything, and it has truly been a pleasure.
That means the world to me, and I appreciate it. And this is the one thing I'll say about it. You know, for me, it's not about the dollars. It's about this right here, connecting with people through music. So, I mean, that means the world to me. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're so welcome. And Terry, I'll be seeing you soon.
Take care, Don. Be blessed.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.